Hey guys, good afternoon. It's Wednesday and time for some more development. So, a couple of things we're going to look at today. Number one, we're going to look at adding stuff to our data table. And number two, we're going to add the code for connectors like we did for the buildings last night. And then we shall do some testing in the meantime. But firstly, we are going to add some buildings just so that we can test certain things. Okay, so last night we added a new variable to this structure which is unlocked at start. Right, so all the stuff that we can unlock are going to be set to false, and everything that's going to be in the initial build list for the player is going to be true. Okay, so what we're going to say here is we're going to add a new one, and it's going to be smelter 2. Okay, now we've got to remember that we can't put a space in our row name, so that becomes smelter 2. This becomes this becomes the name. Then we set it to a building type of smelter. Then we shall set it to BP smelter. We're just going to add the same images and stuff. Okay. Now these are going to obviously change as we get new assets and update the assets. Right. We're going to say one worker, maximum 10. We're going to have to add a cost to it at some point. But for the moment, we'll just basically add this. Right, so we're going to have, open this up, and it's going to be bauxite 10, and we'll say copper ore. This is just for testing purposes. We're setting up with the basics. Okay, player can build, yes, which means we can craft it. What we got for the output capacity, well, we'll set it to 25, shall we? Unlocked at start, no. And we'll set the input capacity at 25 as well. And for this one, the input capacity isn't relevant because a miner doesn't have an input capacity. Right, so the next one we're going to do is the fabricator, and we're going to duplicate that. Right, and that's going to be fabricator 3, sorry, fabricator 2. Okay, and the building name is going to be fabricator 2. Everything else can stay the same, but not unlocked at start. Save that. And we're going to have metalworks, so duplicate that. And that's going to become metalwork 2. And then If we go up to the top here, we can add a space in, and 2. That's Metalworks. We'll leave that as is, everything else, and then we'll say unlocked at start, no. Okay, so if you aren't aware of the way this is all working, then all the data for all these things are being pulled from a data table, or being pulled from data tables. So when we add, you'll notice that these are all set up correctly. Okay, and we can't actually add them to the hotbar because they're not available yet. This one we can drag and drop. This one we cannot. Okay, because these aren't available yet. But when you unlock them through research, they do become available. Okay? So, yeah. Now, one of the things we'll fix there, actually, what we'll do is we'll fix this straight away. Okay, so you'll notice that you can actually go straight through the ground. Right, so let's fix that. We'll basically clamp our controller. So this is a little side note here going on that we can do something with. So we've got the camera movement, so we actually look at this particular thing. Right, let's rotate the camera, and here's the zoom. Okay, and what we're going to do is we're going to clamp this. So we pull off this and we say clamp it. And let's say we're going to clamp it between 100 and 1000. Then that is going to go in there. Okay. And then we can tidy this up a bit. So what we'll do is we'll straighten this connection, then we'll straighten this connection, then we'll straighten this connection, and there we go. Okay, so now our camera shouldn't be able to go through the ground, right? So I can't keep zooming in, and zoom out is nowhere near enough, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to say basically 3000 to that for now. And we can test that again. Right, so we can't zoom any further than that. Okay, and we can't zoom any further than that. Okay, so that's our maximum minimum zoom. Okay, so that simple clamp sorts out our problem regarding zooming in and out. We probably need a little bit more than that, and we probably want to set this at about, let's say, 250. Okay, and we'll say 4 for this. And that'll do us for now. Okay. So as you can see, what we did in our data table, we have added some new buildings that we can now build. Now when we do build these, we can set various stats on them depending on which one it is, right? So if it's the version 2, we can use a different icon in here, we can use a different mesh in here, and we can change like the speed of that particular thing. You'll notice that this does not have any of like the processing speed or anything, so we can do that. Now the next thing I want to do is I actually want to add more products. Okay, now what I'm going to have to do is we're going to have to look at what we have available and see if we can find something that is basically going to do the job for us for the moment. Okay, now there is one thing that I wanted to look at here, which was this Wild West, and see if there's actually anything in here that we can use, or if I'm basically going to be getting rid of it all. And it looks to me like the only things in, yeah, this was me looking, what I was doing here was looking for edges for the map, right? And this was about the best I could find that I had, but that's not going to cut the mustard, so that's probably going to have to go. Now I don't think the vehicle pack's going to be any good to us either, right, because this is just normal cars. I mean, it's okay for using this prototyping, but not really what we want. We've got the storage house. Now this was a more interesting one, right? We've got actual buildings here, so we can actually build a building out of this if we wanted to, right? But the props are the more interesting thing. Now I have been using some of these things, but, or I've used one of them at least, right? This might be interesting actually. We might actually be able to use this on the, like the buildings, but that would be for later. So let's see if we've got anything else. Let's see if we've got something that we could use as a product. What I was really looking for here was a PCB, right? So something similar that I could use. Doesn't really matter what it is, right? So we've really not got anything there. Now, yeah, that's just totally the wrong thing. Now, we might have something in here. Right, so it's not going to be in Flora. Probably not in here, but we'll have a look. Right, this is a building again. Okay, periodic table is interesting, but not really what we need at this point. This is interesting. A computer. This is a possibility as a product. Right, so we need to keep that in mind. That's a nice one. What's this paper? Yeah, those are just documents. We're not going to worry too much about that, but that is kind of interesting. Now, it's interesting sometimes what you find in here, right? So it might not sound promising for what we want, but you might find something that we can tweak to our use, and it's interesting to look at them. Now this is kind of interesting, these glass walls. I'm just wondering if these actually look like glass, because one of the things we were going to actually do was have you make glass. And it's loading in the shaders. Now, the only problem I've got with this is kind of the fact that it's got that border around it, and I'm just wondering what that actually looks like. It looks like we've got like a metal thing round about it, which wouldn't be the worst thing. It certainly wouldn't be the worst thing, but we've got shaders going now, which is always a bit crap. Right, so we'll carry on and we'll look at other things, right? So we looked at the rooms and we're in the glass walls. Right, there's some interesting things there that I'm not too sure if we're going to be able to use them, but there are some possibilities. I mean, we could export these and then retexture them to our use. This is why I'm looking at these things, because any time saved that we don't is good, right? Ventilation. This is kind of interesting as well, right? Because we could repurpose the likes of this thing as an inlet, right? Like an inlet for a building, right? So the product comes on the conveyor belt. The conveyor belt ends here, and you see the product going in here, right? And that kind of makes sense, except for this bit at the front, which kind of doesn't. Right, I'm just wondering if there's one here that doesn't have that like meshy thing on it. But still has the kind of cover. Maybe this one? That's got both the ventilation thing on it. They've both got the vent. I'm looking for one without a vent. Right, apparently they've all got vents. Okay, is this one different? See, that has the vent as well. Right, there's ways around that. You could stick a black like plane in front of that so it doesn't look as if it's got that, but we'd have preferred it if it was just like an opening, but you can't have everything. But we're still looking at things that we could possibly use. We could certainly use these for buildings, right? We would have to do some kind of what's the word I'm looking for here? Modifications on the textures that we're going to use, but it gives us ideas, right? This is the point. When you're looking at assets you've got, that's interesting, but I suppose we could probably change use skylighting. Is this got the yeah, it's got the glass rain, right? So I'm guessing if you switch this off, I'll leave that to do the shaders itself, right? And we'll have a look at the scientific and then we'll come back to this. But that's an interesting one, right? Because what we could do is I'm guessing if we threw that glass thing or that texture, right, well, right, what we'll do is we'll put that back, right, and that's glass rain. So I'm guessing it's the instance, right? So what we could do, if you really wanted to, you could throw that on front of the camera as an effect, right? On the actual game camera. You could just stick a plane in front of the camera and then use that as an effect, like for rain, for example. Right, so the next thing we want to have a look at, and this is what we're kind of more interested in, and we think this might give us a bit more, not really. Let's have a look at this eye scan thing. Nah, that's just not going to cut it. I was hoping for, we might have something in the server, but right, gas canisters. These are quite interesting. Now there's my test tube, right, which was modelled kind of from this gas cylinder and then re-textured. But that looks more interesting. Now these could be quite interesting. As I said, remember to think about the way you're going to use these, right? I mean, let's say that you could use, like, let's say this, right? We're going to need to wait. But the thing is here, right, it's obviously a very low cost model, right? But we could use that as like let's say a rocket control panel, right? As a product, but as a rocket control panel. And that would look really good going around the production line. Okay, so this is what I'm saying. Think about the way that you're going to implement things like this. It might not be as what it's intended to be for, but it's going to suit your game, and if you can plug it in, then that's great, right? But that's an interesting one. Now what we're really interested in is, now we're already using this thing as a miner, right? But have we got anything on the server here that would actually, again, for this server module, right? This server module thing, it's rack. That's unfortunate, but I'm sure we could. Right, so that's like a networking thing. Right, now these are all just like front faces. Right, so I mean, if you want to be super clever about it, you could have this as a sub part that becomes this in the end part. Right, so you'd need one of these and one of these to make one of these, right? So although this is made to just be like a front, it would actually kind of still make sense in a way. Right, so this is what I'm talking about. that we've got lots of things, and if we adjust them and sort of change the way that they're used, then we could actually use them as, you know, not necessarily the finished product, but to give us a better representation of what we're actually trying to do here, right? So let's have a look at this wire. Is this? Ah, that's a shame. That's a shame. Now this has also got particles, beams, electricity, right? All of that's okay. We're not really too worried about that. Now this has also got blueprints. Now I don't know what the blueprints are going to do. I'm guessing that in here we've got filing cabinets, right? And I'm guessing that these open, right? But we're not going to be able to use them really. So that's effects. What else have we got here? Right, I've got, this is some of the stuff that's not really what we want. It's in here that I'm hoping to find something that's going to work. We can have a look here. See, we're already using these as kind of placeholder stuff, which is fine. But I'm hoping to find like something that I can use as a product off the bat. Even if again it's just going to be a placeholder product. I just want really a nice representation of something. So, not looking good so far. I mean, you could use some of these things, like, as a kind of intermediate product. And again, we've got these, which I like those other ones. Those could have came in handy if they didn't have those meshes on them, but can't have everything. So we can have a look here. Alright. Tires is interesting. If we're making vehicles, this would be an intermediate product, very possibly. Tires coming out a rubber plant, then the wheel coming out a fabricator. As I said, and here as well, we could have a video camera as a scientific thing, an electronic thing that's used for like maybe gun turrets. Right, so that would be like a laser sight or something. You could rename that as a laser sight or something of that nature. Again, I'm just trying to come up with ideas for using some of the stuff that I've actually got, right? I've got this industrial area. Let's zoom to the top and see what we've got. I think this is more like the outside of a building. Once again, you could use it to build a building outside of a building. Got a switchboard. doesn't look like we've really got anything here. Trailer generator, possibly, if we're going to do electricity in it. There's not a lot to this asset pack, to be honest. I'm guessing environment set. Oh, wait a minute. I want to have a look at this. Right, so we've got rocks here. Now, you might not think, what am I going to use these for? But, interesting thing is, we could use these, right, as like, we can tint them the colour that we want, and this could give us some sort of a, what's the word I'm looking for here? Mineral deposit, right? And you'll notice that, let's have a look at the landscape as well. I'm guessing this is going to be, yeah, different landscape materials. Interesting. I would need to have a look and see what the finished articles are for that. Right, here's the models. This is more for a realistic looking environment, or at least from that it is. Could use some of these the roots type thing. Anyway, not an awful lot there, and this is basically just as a dissolve thing. Right, that is an effect, and that's basically us, I think. Right, so at this point what I would do is, we'll see how we're doing with our glass wall. Right, we can see that we've got those panes in the middle. Yeah, but what we wanted to do is, if we do that, it starts redoing the shader. Okay, we'll leave it there. Right, but what we're going to do is, we're going to look to see if we've got anything that's going to cut the mustard and give us some sort of interesting see if I've overlooked anything here. Right, these are kind of fantasy type things. So we're still looking in here. I'm guessing that's not going to go down to the level that we want. We're just looking for something here that might just give us something that we can use. Right, a lot of these are just, as I said, we've got this one, right? This is the one, it doesn't load into a particular folder like this, but we actually have that installed, and it doesn't, well, there's stuff there, but we can't we're not going to get a PCB out of it, put it that way. It doesn't look like we're going to get anything here, I don't think. What's that modern city with what? I still don't think that's going to give us anything anyway. Old Poly Robots isn't going to do it for us. Modular sci-fi office. Yeah, I think that's pretty bare bones and really stylized. It is good, but not really what we need here. Maybe this. Let's have a look at this, right, and see if we see anything inside it that's going to help us. Come on. It's obviously still doing the shaders here, so we're getting a bit of slowdown on everything else. Okay, so let's have a look at this. That kind of looks interesting. I know there isn't actually very much to this particular asset. It basically concentrates on like the outside. Like this is their showpiece little thing. Yeah, that's basically it. It ain't actually cutting it, is it really? And that was our spa science laboratory. Right, well, is anything here? Looks like we're coming to an end and we're coming up short. What's this? I mean, you can do this and it doesn't look like what you need, right? But there might be that one little object that catches your eye and you think, yep, I can use that one thing. Okay. Not quite. Good try though. And there even might be something that's going to be like seemingly completely useless, but might actually might have one thing, because I think this is kind of steampunk. Or it might be. doesn't appear, the only steampunky thing about it appears to be, yeah, the only thing steampunk appears to be the space, or the blimp. I'm guessing this is not steampunky at all. But, see here, right, the reason this gives me a little bit is because this is a mine, right? So you would think it might have like ores and stuff like that. Now, I don't know if it has. I mean, I don't spot anything that looks kind of interesting. Are we going to get a showcase here? Oh, we have got a showcase. It's just these rocks here. Containers. No, it was worth a look though. It was worth a look, definitely. Right, so, okay, we're kind of not got what we want. So, what we're going to do is we had that environment pack, this environment set, right? And we had the rocks. Now, these have got blueprints on them. I don't know why in particular at the moment. Let's open one up and see what we've got. Now, it's no code in it, so I don't know why. Now, this is a material instance, right? So this is actually going to be quite interesting. Because what we could do is we don't want the ones with grass on it because they're going to look weird, right? But what we do maybe want is the likes of one of these. Right? Now that looks completely wonky. Right, okay. Is this from one angle? No, it isn't. It's okay. Oh, why did it have to have that? We might be able to change this, right? So, well, let's do it for a normal one first, right? That's probably not going to have, well, these all might have some sort of a, like, weird, yeah, like this has got a weird thing on it, but we might be able to change that. Right, so if I click on that and then go to here, right, and then if we duplicate that, right, and then we change it to medium rock 4, right, then we open this one up. right, we can see what we've got here and what we can actually change. Right, so if we say cover 0, right, that takes that away. Okay, and now we've got that forest. This is really dark. Now, have we got anything on the colour? I'm guessing we would have to get this colour, right, and then multiply it by like another colour. The only other option would be, well, I'm probably sure I've got other kind of rocks at other places anyway, right? I'm pretty sure I can get a rock without any weird colouring on it, right? And then what we could do is basically do a mask or something that gets the edges of a rock. So let's go back to our rocks, right? So what you could do, or what I'm thinking of what you could do, is like get a rock like this and then do some sort of multiplication on the base colour, or get it to do it in the crevices or something where you change it to the colour of copper or iron or whatever, right, to give you some sort of a, you know, a vein. Right, have we got some sort of a, see, we haven't got any kind of in fact, what I'm thinking here is, see this here, this MTRAO, see if we multiplied this by a colour, that might be exactly what we want. Right, so this has turned into a little bit of a muck around that we might want to play with. Let's say anyway, right, I'm going to go, guys, and grab a cigarette. Then we're going to come back and have a look at this some more. We're going to see if we've got any other rocks that are going to fit the bill better. Right? And we probably have. And we'll either get them out of our assets or out of the stuff we've already got in here. Right? So that's not what we want. Landscape. That's just textures, so that's going to be environment. Clouds, I'm guessing this is going to have some sort of rocks in it. Yep. Right, so again, we might be able to do something with a taking it that's mask or something. Right, that we can turn this into like a we can multiply this mask and then apply it again so that we get some sort of a vein system on it. Anyway, I'm going to go and grab a cigarette and I shall be back in 2 minutes. So if you're enjoying the stream, hit subscribe and like. and check out the description, and I'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. Okay guys, we're back and we've not really got, I'll tell you what, we'll use that, right, for bauxite. Now, what I'm suggesting here is this rock, right, we can actually use, I'm just wondering if this would actually, excuse me, this rock snow, we've got the material instance, right? Ah, that's interesting. Right, I wonder what this looks like. This is, what, sandstone, I take it? So let's have a look at this. Ah, okay. That's doing the rock slatey thing. And that's doing the ambient occlusion. Now, what I'm actually interested in here is what are the different channels. Right, so you could like use snow alpha. So you could use the red or the blue to get the black. Right, and with the black, let's try something just for a laugh, right? Right, we're kind of mucking around now, but mucking around's good. Right, so there's our base color, right? So what we could do is multiply that, right, with vector parameter, right, and we could add like that okay, then we could multiply that by that, then just for another laugh we could multiply that by that, and then we could plug that in there and see what happens. Ooh. Ooh. That's interesting. I mean, it looks sort of like iron ore, but it's kind of interesting. Right, we could change that. Right. And we could pull darkness right down. then how's that going to look? That starts becoming a bit kind of interesting. Right, we'll do a little something for a laugh. Again, we're just mucking around, right? We're just having a bit of fun here. Because all we need to do is plug this straight back into here, and that's it back to exactly what it was. Right, I wonder what happens if we... No, we didn't want to do that. We want to do that. Actually, no we don't. Right, we'll turn this back up. We'll do a 1 minus on it, because this is going to be crazy. That actually looks kinda okay. Okay, right, we'll take the 1 minus off, right? Now, I wonder... what's going to happen if I do that crazy colour? It doesn't seem to do a lot, but I think that's because we really just wanted that to go into there. So it's like blending those two. And is that actually doing an awful lot? I don't know. Actually, no, we need that to come from here. I don't know if that's making a difference, or it's just I'm seeing a change, but it's not really. Yeah, I'm beginning to think that's not actually doing an awful lot. Which, yes, I'll save it and it'll look completely ludicrous. Now that definitely did something. Right? So that definitely made a difference. So I'm guessing the amount we power it by It's redoing shaders again, which is always a sign that something has changed rather dramatically. I don't know if that's actually made a whole load of difference. Might have. Right, so what we'll do is we'll just bang the up to some ludicrous number, then try to make it make a huge difference. Thanks for the subscription, Jess Murphy. That's very kind of you. Right, so are we going to get a huge difference again, or are we going to come to a point where it's diminishing returns? Yeah, I think it's going to be diminishing returns on this one. Interesting. Right, wait a minute. What we'll do is we'll make it 0.5. Save that. I think what the best idea would be here would actually be to end up just doing something in Substance Painter, just exporting this rock. Yeah, that's brought it right back up. Right, so obviously that's lightened it right up. Okay, fair enough. But the main thing here is to learn to just have a play, right? Just try things out, see what difference it makes. That's probably the best way to learn. So that actually might have done for, like, we could turn this into an instance, right? And change the color for each of our different things. Right, now I don't know how easy or difficult it would be to do kind of veins on it. Okay, since we're playing, right, let's export this, right? So we're going to import, then backup one, then export, then SM rock. Okay, So we've exported that, right? And then we can go into Substance Painter. Now this is what I would normally do. Now I'm doing this with the first rock I've come across, but this is going to work for any rock. Right, so all we need to do is go to new, select, then imports there, then back into exports, then bring this back in, okay that, and there we have it. We can delete this layer, then go to texture settings, and we bake all our stuff except ID and go for it. Then okay that, and then we can look for what we've got, right? And we'll make these large, and then we'll start with what we've got, and we'll see what we can actually use. Now a lot of these are right, so you could like drop this on, right? And this is kind of weird. Why has that got that weird look to it? Ah, we've got two. Right, okay, okay. We've got two different material sets. Right. We've got it looks like we've got a kind of a collision type thing going on the outside, but you'll notice there that this actually concrete dusty looks quite good. It's got that little bit of bristly stuff on it. Right, now let's have a look here. Now we'd want to actually add some kind of a actually that's fabric. You'll notice that we haven't got like a what I'm interested in, right, is we can delete this layer here, then we can switch that off, and let's see what it gives us when we do the crystal. It doesn't really give us an awful lot, to be fair. Okay. Now I can't really remember how to do this. I think what we need to do is we need to add a layer, and then we need to add it to the brush, I believe. This is what you get when you forget how this works. It's not in there. And it's not in there. Okay. And that's not what we want. I can't remember how to add like a layer like that. Is it a fill layer? It's not a fill layer either by the looks of things. You can't add like a that's just going to fill it. Right, so basically if you wanted, right, so we're going to take that off, right? So if we wanted like a stencil, what we could do is get some kind of a, it's going to represent our it's probably too heavy. Something that's going to represent our, what do you call it? Veins. Something like that, actually. Right, and then what we'd do is make it like a coppery colour. Now we took to kind of paint it on, but it's not, kind of not working. So this is working. So this is kind of it. See how that actually did something there, but then it kind of didn't. Which was kind of weird. It looks to me like this model is just not appropriate for this at all, because it's got that weird so we need that layer again, right? And it doesn't seem to be doing anything, but it is, because you can see it here. But it's got this weird two different layer thing going on, right? So I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to close this down, right? I'm going to discard that, right? We're going to go back in here, right? Then we're going to undo our stuff here by just plugging this straight into here, right? And then we're going to delete this. And that basically takes us back to where we were. We can save that, right? But what we'll do is we'll find another rock, right? And we know we're going to find it in this Wild West thing, I think. Actually, we're not. Right, so we'll need to find it somewhere else. But we must have... Right, that's not it. Right, that's not it either. Right, so it's not in there. But we might have something here. Okay, we've got these rocks here. Right, we like these rocks here. Which one do we especially like? Right, we especially like this one. Right, so we're going to actually do the same thing again. We're going to export this to this one here, save that, export that. Then we're going to jump in into here again. We're going to close that. We're going to do new, select, it's middle rock 2, open, okay that. Right. And then we go to texture set, select maps, forget the ID, right, and okay that. And now what we can do is we can go for a concrete again, right? Concrete dusty. Right? It's not perfect, but it will do for now. Notice again, it's got this secondary material. Now, I don't know why it's doing that. Right, but we're going to delete that. Alright, we'll go with that. Then we'll do a fill layer. Sorry, just as normal layer. Right. And we go to particles. Oh, that's interesting. That's a kind of a bigger one. includes randomness. That is kind of what we want. Right, and we want like a base color. Let's say we're going for copper again, right? And we'll okay that. Right, now that's pretty much what we want, right? But we need this to be a crap ton bigger. And we want the stroke opacity to be that. Don't know what the hardness is going to do for us. Right, but you'll see there that we can actually add that on. You see, you don't want to drag it because that just ruins the effect. Now, the thing is, that if we pull the height down, right, now the question is, do we want the height out or the height in? Either way, now what you really want to do in this case is also be continually like rotating the brush. I know that it's doing I keep pressing the wrong thing. Now it's obviously doing a randomness thing as you do it, but it would actually really help. And in actual fact, this could be doing with being a bit more light. So let's have a look at that, and we'll spin it round and we'll do a new one with a sort of brighter and the problem with this is it's kind of like I want it to be less Right, so that's just like opacity. Now I'm hoping it's this. This is like a... Yeah. Hi T Angel. I missed you last night. I think it was last night. You just sort of entered at the end. What am I doing? Right, good question. So I need to take you back to here to show you what I'm doing. I need to then press play. Right. What we have is when we mine stuff, right? So when I make a miner, it's going to produce like copper ore or iron ore, right? In this case, it's bauxite, right? And what I want to do is, at the moment, I don't want to do that because we've moved over to this now. We've moved over to our hotbar, right? So basically, I want this to represent something closer to the finished article that I'm actually going to be outputting and processing. So we're going to be processing this, which is iron ore, right? So we're going to be bringing in iron ore, and we're going to input bauxite, and we're going to output iron ore, right? So I want something that's going to better represent bauxite. Okay, I'll show you what I mean. So at the moment, if I bring this out and plug it in, right, this is going to start outputting a product. Now at the moment it's a barrel, right? But I don't want a barrel. I want something that better represents bauxite. Okay? So I've got these rocks, but obviously these rocks have got their own texture on them, but I don't want to use that texture, right? I want to make something that represents like copper ore, bauxite, etc., etc. So this would be more of a representation of like copper ore, so that you can see like the veins of copper. Yeah? I mean, it doesn't need to be exact, it's just a kind of visual representation of what I'm trying to do, right? So the player can see a difference. So, for example, I would create this for the copper, right? So you could see the copper ore going through the stone or the mud or whatever it is you're doing. Right? So this is actually looking, I know it's not perfect, right? But it's just me getting an idea of the way I can do this quickly to get sort of better or more representative textures on these rocks, right? And then basically what I can do is, once I've kind of done that, I can then bring it into the game, right, as a new texture. Now, what I could actually do, now here's the thing, what I should actually do, right, is kill that, delete it entirely, right, then I think what I'm going to have to do in this particular case is to have, can I do another base color? That's the question. I'm sure there's a way of doing it. Like, I could do a user, right? And then what I can do, here's my point. I can then do another layer, right? And I can basically do the same thing again. But if I make the color channel basically white, right? So if I change this to white, I can then, excuse me, I can then look for anything that's white and change the color of it, right? So basically I can have the one texture, turn it into a material instance, and then multiply this out, then add it to the base, and then I can use one texture for each of the different materials, right? So if I bang that down as white, anything on this particular texture, I can multiply it by the color that I want, right? And then I can basically, if it's copper, I multiply it by orange. If it's iron, I multiply it by silver. If it's gold, I multiply it by the gold color, etc., etc. So I only actually need one instance of this texture, right? Or this layer of texture. Now what I'm thinking is, I still want it separated from the base color. Right, now what I think Substance Painter does is it's going to add these together and give me one base color, and that's not the way I want it. I want it as like a different layer or a different texture coming out so that I can actually change it. Right, now I'm just wondering if I could do it as an emissive. Right, I'm not brilliant at this material stuff, right, but I'm just trying to think through the problem here. Yeah, I can do them as different colors, but I can control it. I don't, like, if I was to do all the different products or ores, you would have like silicon, gold, silver, like bronze, copper, iron, etc., etc., right? And I would need to make textures for every single one with a different color, right? But if I've got a texture coming in that's basically just the white, yeah, but I have to have the texture that's plain white, this covering texture, right? This layer here, right? Now, if I export this, it's basically going to add these together, right? And then basically then I can't tell what's the white of the rock and what's the white of the vein. Okay, so what I'm thinking is I'm going to have to like add a new sort of channel. Right? And that channel will store the information for the veins, right? So then when I'm doing it in Unreal, I can create a material instance so that when I want to set the variable color, it only applies it to the vein and not to the rest of the rock, okay? So that's kind of my thing. Now I'm maybe it's going to have something as well that I can do on the height. But as I said, I don't know enough about how to do that, and I'm not a material guy, so that would be kind of hard for me. So let's just test this, right? And I'm going to add, I can maybe do it with the specular. Right, now you'll notice there I've added the specular, right? Now, as I said, I've not used this in a while either, so I'm going to probably make a mess of this, right? But I'll show you what I mean. Right, if I add a layer, right, and I switch off everything but height and specular, then it should only write to these two channels, right? So we're still going to get our height, but the specular is going to be all white. Right, we actually need color as well, and we need it to be white. And then when we output it, we'll output the specular. Right, let's try it, right? Let's just try it and see what happens. Right, so if I do that, right? As I said, this is just for testing purposes, so we're not bothered how this looks or anything else. We'll just do it. We're just trying to get some kind of an idea of what we're going to need to do for our workflow. So when we do this or get somebody to do it, then we know how to do it, right? So basically we can call this veins. Right, now we're going to have to, right, so we can save this, right? Well, we're not going to save it because it takes 2 minutes to actually do it. So, but what we can do is we can export the textures, right? And we want the configuration, and then we want to do that, but we want the specular. I don't know why, right? As I said, I'm not converting specular. Can we? Apparently not. I don't know how to do this. Okay. Can we drag onto there? Apparently not. Can we drag onto? Okay. So this is RGB plus A. Right, so we want to do that. Yeah, it's just one of these things. It's right, we're going to do that. We're going to copy that. We're going to paste that, and then we're going to change it to veins. Right, and I hope I can now drag this onto here. Right, we're going to say from specular. Okay, did that work? I don't even know what this does. I'm guessing here, guys, okay? Okay, so that looks right. Right, as I said, I'm just guessing, but hey, if it works, we're starting to get a workflow for this. Right, it shows me how to do something else as well, by the way. This is important because I'll show you in a minute. Right, this has got another very important usage that I want to use in the game. But I'm going to have to show you on this one. Right, so we're going on imports. Right, and we're going to do products. Right, and I'm not 100% sure why that. Right, we're going to cancel that. Right, so cancel that. Cancel. We don't want to do that. We want to do this. So what we're going to do is we're going to add a new folder, and we're just going to call it rocks. Right, let's keep it simple. And that's about as simple as it goes. Are you using Unreal Engine yourself, IT Angel? Right, so we're ready to export, okay? And this is where it goes to crap. Let's open the folder. Right, cool. We've definitely got more than usual. We've got occlusion. Apparently. Now this looks different from what we've usually getting. This is the normal occlusion, roughness, metallic, and we've got the base color. Right, now what these are, I've got no idea. Right, but you'll notice that actually we have no veins. Right, we have no veins. So that didn't work. See, this should be texture set. No, that's not it. See, this should be there. We've got this one normal, the base color, and we should have this one. And it says 4 output maps will be exported. Right, but it didn't. It's lying. It's lying to us. Where's the 4th map? Where did it go? And why is there 2 sets of these as well? What is that? What's going on there? We're going to delete them, right? No, I don't think so. You see, it's saying here, right, it says 4 output maps will be exported. 1, 2, 3, 4. Right? It's exactly what we want. Unless this has been exported to somewhere else. But I don't know what, you see, I don't know what the, wait a minute. Input maps. Right, so I'm taking it these are the normals, and then you've got the converted. Right, so the specular doesn't have an alpha, apparently. So we'll try that again. And see what that does. I don't see... No, I didn't see it doing that. No, it's not done it. Right. So it's lying again. So let's keep struggling with this, because this would actually solve a few issues. Right, so we go back to there. And what's that? Oh, I'm guessing that's a copy. So we're going to delete that, right? And then we know that this is just an RGB, right? So if we drag this onto here, right, apparently that isn't an RGB. Right, so we reckon it's going to be an RGB and A. Right, okay. We're going to remove that again. It says it's RGB, right? So we'll drag this and we drag it onto here. So is it from specular? Apparently not. Right, it's RGB channels. Now, okay, whatever. Here we go with the I don't know what I'm doing. But that's okay, because I'll admit to it, I don't know what I'm doing. Right? We're going to export to the same place. Right? Now, that's okay. Ah, okay, I get it now. If we don't, right, if we don't output this, we're only going to get our 3. This is because it was outputting for 2 different layers. Or sorry, it was outputting for 2 different materials. It was outputting for default material and then M rocks. Okay, and that's why we were getting the 6. So that's okay, we understand that now, that we've actually thought about it for 2 seconds. No, I don't think so. See, it doesn't seem to still be doing it. It's only going to give us a 3 this time, right? That's fine. Right? Now, the interesting thing is, if we open this up, this has got the veins on it. I've just had a thought here, right? I think I know how to sort this out. Right, if I delete that, right, and then I switch it to default material, right, this has to be on a different material. Now, the problem is that secondary material is no good to us. But it might be, right? I'm just going to do that and then I'm going to show you what I mean, right? If I export textures now, right, and I switch this back on, now this one, the default material, is going to have my veins data. Actually, yeah, it's going to have my veins data. Right, so what I can do is, that's fine. Right, no it's not. We go back to here. Right, and then what we'll do is we'll copy this, we'll paste that, and we'll call it veins. Right, so I didn't actually need to create a specular. All I needed was the different material. But that's still not kind of ideal. But we'll think about it later. What we'll do is we'll export. And now we've got our 6. And this one should not have, you see how it's not got our veins anymore? Right? But this one should. And there they are. Right? So now we've got our actual 2 separate, I wonder if the normals have got it as well. It should have. Yeah, there's normals. Cool. Right, obviously it's going to look like crap, but that isn't the point at the moment. The kind of point is that we've exported them and we've done that. And let me show you why this is important. Because what I want to do is I want you to be able to colour your buildings how you want, right? So for example, right, maybe I'll have a material that goes around like this that you can colour it green or blue or whatever you want, right, so that you identify it. And then also you might have a third material that goes around here that identifies the level, right? So maybe green is level 1, amber is level 2, and red is level 3, something like that, right? But it means that learning how to do this gives me the chance to work out how I can add my own colours to individual materials, right? And this is the way to do it. So, it's time up for me this afternoon. I shall be back at 8 PM. Hi, Dr. Oplays. Nice to see you here. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to test this out and get a solution that's going to work and have it working by tonight. So if you're around 8 PM Central, I shall be streaming again. And what we shall do is we'll take a look at actually taking this a bit further and then creating material instances for this and then actually doing our ORs programmatically, right? So if you've enjoyed the stream, hit the like and subscribe. Check out the description for a link to Discord, and you can support the channel by adding my previous game to your Steam wishlist, or if you want to buy it, or if you want to join Steam Patreon. Sorry, not Steam Patreon, but just Patreon. So thanks for watching, and I shall catch you all later. Bye bye for now.